All right, welcome everyone back to the Smoker Fire Show. I'm your host, Jack, and we got JJ in the building. How you feeling, JJ?
Dude, I'm feeling great. I'm
You
feeling so
feeling
good right
great?
now. I'm feeling so good right now. We're in the 1-0 club.
Hey, the
Jack,
Patriots.
you don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that.
No, I did.
All right?
Well, I
You don't
didn't.
know
You
nothing
didn't face
about
the
that.
Eagles, so
We did face the previous Super Bowl people that played in the Super
well,
Bowl.
actually,
So,
the Eagles have been to the Super Bowl more
but that
recent.
was fraudulent. That wasn't a real run, not like the Bengals. So
Well, they
all
both
I'm saying
lost.
is,
They both lost. So
all I'm saying,
At least the Eagles actually lost to a competent team,
uh, oh, listen, pal. All
or
right.
a competent Super Bowl team, I should say. All right, but moving into, I want to go over those QB rankings that you have. So
All right.
JJ
All right.
has a full QB ranking
Definitive.
post week one, obviously. So we're recording this, um, like right before Monday Night Football. So I mean, this is gonna go out Tuesday. So pending that game, of course, um, we can go through the QB rankings that JJ has. Like I said, pending this game coming up here, we'll see how Rogers does. We'll see how Brock Purdy does. So
I'm probably gonna start from the top just because I feel like the top of the as far as quarterback rankings is. I mean, we already know like what it's gonna be like.
right,
It's just I feel like once we get more into like the middle of it, is probably where we're gonna be a little bit more um disagreements or conversation to be had.
sure. Pretty much what you have here is kind of tiers. So you have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven tiers. It looks like.
Yeah, and these are all like this list is also very fluid. Obviously it's week one.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely. This is just moving forward from what we've seen. Yeah, in week one.
right, and then also injuries are an account too. Like I don't have Jordan Love on this list for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's just because he's injured, so that makes sense.
Right. All right. So
So
to start,
do you have Malik Willis in there somewhere?
no, I don't. Just
Okay.
because I'm not putting much stock in it. I mean, I don't know enough to. I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't.
he played one game or one play, I should say, and
Mhm.
he got sacked. He
Right.
just held
So there's
on to the
not
ball
really
too.
much to take out of it. We can start from the top. We got elite three. So for me, these three quarterbacks are like interchangeable. Honestly, at like any given point in the week, they could be the best player in the league, and or win MVP. And I really don't think that people would really argue. So I got Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean, when you look at Josh Allen, he could easily be an MVP, but the only issue with that is how his team does. Because if they end up going 10-7 or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe even barely even making the playoffs, or not even they could not even make the playoffs in the first place. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this AFC right now, and they're still pretty stacked. I mean, you still have the Bengals in there, even though they lost week one. You could still see them losing just four more games and being 12-5. So
Right,
I
and I
they
think
they might not even make the Bills might not even make the playoffs in the first place.
they might not. So the thing with me too is I honestly like if I were to put these rank like each of these situations realistically, what I believe is going to happen. So I think Mahomes and Lamar, the way that their team's constructed, and just them as a big. I have the Chiefs and I have the Ravens like the same tier. They're, like to me, they're literally the same team.
Yeah,
And with the same ceiling. Whereas I feel with like the Bills, this team, when I look at it, it's definitely like a boomer bust team.
mm-hmm.
And the the way it's constructed, and from what I saw in the last game with the Bills and the Cardinals, is Josh Allen literally has to pull like 95% of this team's weight. Otherwise, they're getting blown out or they're trailing by a lot of points.
Yeah. As soon as he's injured for a month, they go 0-4. I mean,
No,
that's a bottom five team
exactly. Like this team it has to rely like whether it's rushing, passing, or just having the threat of him on the field, like they need him.
for sure, for sure.
And I really feel like a team like that, like the way it's constructed, like you are really asking for a lot of trouble.
Oh, and as soon as Josh Allen does get injured,
And it's
I
to me,
forgot they hold on. They
it's
have
it's
Mitch Trubisky in as that backup. Mitch
oh
Trubisky.
yeah, that's the Bears legend Mitchell Trubisky or
Yeah.
Steelers legend. I'm sorry.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Steelers too. Yeah.
you just can't go through a season like that. Like, and it's not a matter to me, honestly, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he gets hurt. Because the way he plays, like 17 games is a lot to ask for.
Has he been injured for like a severe amount of time though?
No,
Because so
not
far
like
not.
not major injury, but for me, it's just like I feel like because there's a lot of injuries you don't even hear about. It's just taking like a beating like that every single week,
Yeah.
like it's just adding up, and it's just going into play because he's not going to go into playoffs very healthy compared to someone like uh Patrick Mahomes or Lamar, where they don't have to carry that. Especially now with Lamar too. I feel like just having Derrick Henry and having that tailback that you can rely on just to carry at least like a good portion of the load, so you don't have to do much, is
Honestly,
really nice.
that's on Josh Allen though. That's the way he plays. When he scrambles out of the pocket, he's
Mm-hmm.
ramming people. Like he's not getting down and trying to avoid hits. Like he's just trying to get yards, which
Right.
can be really costly later down the line in the season for sure.
Right. I mean, we saw it with Cam Newton,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, obviously, like the ceiling's there, but you got to also take longevity into account. But
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. So that's your
but
elite three. We can go into. So what do you have for the franchise
so
guys?
for franchise guys, for me, like we'll all just go to the list and we can kind of discuss. But I got Dak, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, C.J. Stroud, Jared Goff, and Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers. Oh
Listen,
come
all right,
on.
I'm it's a little early. It's week 1, but I got to push this agenda. All right.
Oh, you can't push. Okay, you can't push this agenda when you don't even have Jordan Love in the list, like at
All right.
all.
Listen, I'm pushing it. It's week 1, but it's never too early to start pushing my agendas. Okay,
Okay,
listen,
but I mean,
I'm early.
at this rate, he's going to be a giant. I hope you know that.
Listen, all right. My glorious king, wherever he goes, will succeed. All right.
He's not succeeding in New York. The only
Listen.
man that can succeed in New York is Eli Manning.
All right, no, we're taking it. This, like I said, this is fluid. He could go into elite. Well, you don't know.
Yeah.
All right, but this is a bit. But yeah, that's what I got. Dak. I feel like is obviously Dak. And he just landed he kind of proved it with the deal he just got with the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's now the most paid player in NFL history, of course. I
And
mean, that's
and I think it's pretty evident with the way the contract's constructed too. He's going to be a Cowboy for the rest of his career.
unfortunately. Unfortunately for
Right,
both ends because he's good enough for them to win games, but he has to be carried by that defense in order to make it to the Super Bowl.
right. And I get that there's a lot of hate, especially from Cowboys fans. They don't really want Dak as a quarterback because you kind of get sick of seeing the same thing over and over. But Dak is actually, I think Dak's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, he's a solid quarterback. I mean, you could look at him as a franchise guy. The only issue that I have with that signing is I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Micah Parsons because they still need to
No, I
sign
don't.
him, don't they?
I do, and like for me, it's so actually I have actually a pretty strong opinion about this. So because you obviously you want to keep that core of those three, but with that, when you have players that are that good, like CD is obviously like we don't argue that he's a top three wide receiver. Dak's top 10 quarterback every single season. Michael's one of the best defensive players in the entire league.
I think he
That
might be the guy now that Aaron Donald is gone.
right.
He's the guy.
The problem that you have though is those are not cheap players, and with that you have to reconstruct your entire roster, and you have to bring in young guys, and you have to either pick depend on them to be hit on these draft picks, or have people buy in like they did with Tampa Bay and Tom
Mhm.
Brady, and it's making people take these pay cuts to be able to make a run at a Super Bowl.
So you're saying that Micah Parsons might have to take a pay cut?
That's very rare, but either that or you're going to have to reconstruct this entire roster and have a lot of people leaving and like hopefully hitting on the draft if you're the Cowboys. But that's a really large bet that you're taking on.
Yeah, that might not even be worth it.
No, it's not. So that's why it's very difficult when you're. And for me, it's like the recipe for a Super Bowl is if you get like a Michael Parsons, if you get like a CD, if you get like all these players that you want to realistically get them early on in their career, so you're not necessarily paying them that much, and then make a run at a Super Bowl, just kind of
Mm.
like what Bengals did when they had Jamar on a pretty cheap deal at the time. You had Joe Burrow, who didn't have his contract at the time, and they went on a Super Bowl run. They didn't
Mm.
win, but you saw like what the formula was.
Yeah, I think wide receivers are way too expensive right now for what they
They
actually
are,
give to the team.
and you need to have the right like roster construction
Mm.
and continuity and contracts for that to happen.
It might not even be worth having like a top wide receiver just to pay him that much. So
Mm-hmm.
you won't even be able to sign anyone else. It's kind of the same thing with running backs too. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are you going to sign Derrick Henry to a 4-year deal when he's 30 years old? What's your plans for the next 4 years as he gets to 33, 34? Like, are you actually thinking you're going to compete for a Super Bowl with that type of contract on your team? I don't think that would happen.
Right. I mean, look at the teams that went all like most of the teams that went on Super Bowl. Like the Chiefs have that like they have that mentality down and that those ideas because
Mm-hmm.
they signed Mahomes to such a large deal. Like when you look at it now in retrospect, that deal compared to the contracts people are getting today is nothing.
Yeah, and it was like a 10-year deal too, or something like that. It was something
Right.
huge like that. So it's like
But you see
that's
the
the
players that are
steal.
buying in. Like you get Juju, you get Rashee Rice, he has another contract that you got Xavier Worthy now, you got Travis Kelsey, who's not necessarily getting. I mean, he is one of the highest paid tight ends, but other than that, you're not really paying much. You got Pacheco, who's not really making as much as all these other top running backs.
Yeah, I think
You know,
the next highest would probably be Chris
Colson,
Jones.
right? They're betting a lot on just the future with the Cowboys. Those three players. You better hope to God that you can draft correctly.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
you're gonna doom yourself every single year.
I'm looking at Jared Goff right here. It's like I feel like Jared Goff would be like honestly a little bit below, even with like Kyler Murray would be in that same kind of echelon as Jared Goff, where it's like, okay, this isn't necessarily a franchise guy, but I look at this guy where if you have a roster around him, like Brock Purdy, if you have a roster around him, you can actually win. And that's what I've seen with Jared Goff. Like I don't think you throw Jared Goff on like the Bucks, for example. That team isn't making it to the NFC Championship, right? Like
You
the
don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think he's. I mean,
I
he's better than Mayfield, but like you have to go through the Packers, you have to go through the Niners, you have to go through the Eagles. I mean, it's all dependent on matchups, of course, but like I don't think that would make them a top two team in the AFC or in the NFC. I mean,
I think it would. I'm gonna be honest because I think that division is so much worse than the NFC North.
yeah, of course you're going to be winning the division, but that doesn't mean you're going 13-4 and competing with the Niners. Like that one addition isn't doing you much. It's definitely an improvement on
Yeah.
Baker, but it's like, is he really that much better than Baker? I don't think he is. I mean,
Mm,
he's definitely. I'm not arguing like he's definitely better than Baker, but like that's not going to bring
I
them
understand
over
what you're
the
saying.
edge.
I understand what you're saying though. Where Jared, like when you look at the Lions and how they're constructed, and just like overall as a team, and like
It's not like the Bills where it's like he's hero ball,
yeah, there is
right?
no other perfect quarterback that can fit that mold for that team better than Jared Goff.
Yeah, so he's a mold quarterback, just like Purdy, like Garoppolo a few years ago, like with that Super Bowl run. Like these are just
But
mold quarterbacks that if you have the right pieces around them, they can win it, right? Like Nick Foles in 2018. That's another example where you can win a Super
but
Bowl
that
with
not
an
define
average
a
quarterback.
franchise quarterback though, because I mean that is the quarter that is kind of what a franchise quarterback is though.
I think if you're a franchise quarterback, you are the guy that they say is the reason why they would win. Nick Foles isn't that guy. Jared Goff isn't that guy. Baker Mayfield obviously isn't that guy. Brock Purdy's not that guy. Right? We're
I think
looking
you're
at
disrespecting
Joe
I
Joe
think you're
Burrow.
disrespecting Mr. Jared a little bit.
It's not disrespect. Like I'm just saying, like let's chill out a little bit here, man. Like I when I say franchise guy, I'm thinking, okay, in the next 3 to 5 years, this is the guy that's going to bring us over the edge. Like the player that will actually bring us over the edge. Like I said, if you throw Goff on that Bucks team or on that Falcons team, or I don't know, like I honestly he might like fit in pretty nice back with the Rams, honestly. But anyways,
But
what
to
I'm
me,
saying
but
is
to me, but to me, like I feel like when I think of franchise guy, it's like if I were to take this guy, how many other teams would want to have him on his team and be able to succeed? I could think of a few teams if
That
I were to
doesn't mean
take
you're a
Jared Goff
franchise
and
guy. That just means you're an above average quarterback.
but that's what franchise because to me it's like why else to take age into account because you can't be like a semi above average. Like I can't take Stafford. Like I love Stafford, but I really can't take Stafford and put him on the team, even if they're succeeding, and then be like, yeah, this is a franchise guy because he's probably not going to realistically be around in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas Jared Goff, I feel like he's young enough where I can take him, put him on a team, and they would be able to succeed
It just
about the
depends.
same.
But like when you're thinking of someone like Jared Goff, there's always variables of depending on what team it is. You throw Jared Goff on that Bills team, they're not making the playoffs.
But it's the same. But I could make the same argument too with Josh Allen if I were to put him on the Panthers. Do you think that Panthers team would be good?
I think they would win probably 7 games.
I think they win 5 games. Though, being honest,
That's
that's
a
a
really bad team.
that roster is ass.
See, that's an anomaly where that's just a shitty team in general. Like if you put Josh Allen, okay, hold on. Are the Bills really that much better than the Panthers if you take out Josh Allen and put in Bryce Young? And we're expecting the Bills to be 9-8, maybe 10-7, like pushing for a playoff spot, maybe winning their
You're
division.
cooking, Jack. You're
So what I'm
cooking.
saying is
Because
like,
I see what you're saying. Because like when I look at when I take a step back and I take both of those quarterbacks out, and you look at just how like the Giants are constructed, and then how like the overall roster, and then you look at the Panthers, you're like, I like the Giants roster on paper a little.
yeah, seriously, like, so obviously Josh Allen would be in that elite category. So he's a pretty much a tier above the franchise guy that we're trying to talk about. So let's go
Right.
into like, let's say Tua. Tua is a great example too, right? So he's
Two was in that Jared Goff. Also, for me, in that Jared Goff category too.
mhm. So we're saying these guys, if you throw those guys on the Bills, are they making the playoffs? Are you throw if you
Hmm.
throw Tua on the Bills instead of Josh Allen, are they making the playoffs or not?
But I also can't argue though, also because they're also in top three conversations for a majority of the year last year and then the year previously.
But
That
why?
says a lot.
But
That says a
why
lot
was he
though,
top
Jack.
three?
That says a lot though. Because to me, I also think of other examples too of other quarterbacks like Mac Jones on the Patriots, where they're literally to me, Mac Jones, Tua, and Jared Goff are both similar in style, where they are systematically like they have to thrive in the correct coaching environment.
So that's not a franchise guy then. That's
But
not a
that, no,
franchise guy.
but if you're succeeding, will that not make you a franchise guy?
No,
If
that
you're
just
the
means you're on a good team and you have competent pieces around you. That doesn't make you the guy.
but I've
Tua's
also
not
seen.
the guy. He's not the guy in Miami. That's his weapons around him.
But then you
That's the
also look.
offensive line around him. That's the
But,
running backs around him. That's the
but then you
coaching
think of
around
other
him.
examples too, though, like Jimmy Garoppolo on the 49ers. Like, why
System
can't this guy
QB.
take us over the hump? Because he's not that good.
Exactly.
But then you take a guy like Brock Purdy, and then you're like, they're succeeding much more than they did with Jimmy Garoppolo. Why is that? Because he's not a good quarterback.
I don't know. They both made the Super Bowl, so I don't really see too much of a difference. I think
Okay,
Purdy
all
is
right.
better. I like we could go into like, okay, this person is better, this person is better, but they're still in the same category so far at least, where it's not really a
Hmm.
franchise guy.
I think you're disrespecting this guy a little too much, man.
I'm just saying,
All
okay,
right, but I
you
will say
you
when
you have you have Joe Burrow in the same conversation as Tua and Jared Goff right now. This is what I'm telling you.
I should have categorized a little bit more because I do think there is a drop off. Because
Yeah,
if I were
there's
to
a
put
so
this,
there's franchise
because
guys. There,
yeah,
hold on. There's franchise guys that we're looking at: Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow,
yep,
Jordan
Trevor
Love when
Lawrence,
he's healthy, right?
Trevor Lawrence.
Um, I think so. Like Trevor Lawrence and like Tua, those guys are like fringe. I think Tua is a fringe franchise guy because he has been playing phenomenal. But I would still put him in that tier below. I wouldn't put him in the same tier as Dak Prescott
I'm taking
or
Trevor Lawrence over Tua.
yeah, I could
I'm
agree with
sorry.
that too. I don't know where I'm at with Trevor Lawrence at this point.
I don't hold Trevor Lawrence in high regard as other people in media, but I do think that he has done enough to a very like because if you when I look at it, the Panthers or the Jaguars were literally the Panthers 3 years ago. So
Mhm.
just in seeing how much Trevor Lawrence has changed them, that does show me that they are he is
That's
like
true.
that franchise.
That was a poverty franchise for sure.
Very bad.
But honestly, like throw him on the Bills. They're gonna be 7-10.
Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah, they're not a playoff team with Trevor Lawrence.
but neither was that Jaguars team at the time either.
Right.
They were that Jaguars roster that went to the playoffs was literally the Bills.
Okay, then let me ask you this then. So then take out Trevor Lawrence on that current Jags team right now and throw in Josh Allen. Are we putting them over the Texans to win that division?
But I feel like they're honestly like if I look at it, holy shit, yeah, that Jaguars the more I think of it, that Jaguars roster is exactly like the Bills roster. If you
It
really
is.
think
That's what
about
I've been saying. Like those two teams are very similar. Whereas like they are
they got
kind
a good
of
running back.
dependent on they're dependent on that QB, and it really depends on how that QB plays. So that's why like I have like the Jags maybe winning like 6 games this season. But like as far as the Bills, I'm seeing the Bills getting like 9 games. And that's all dependent on that quarterback. It really is. So
It's
that
the division. It's the
obviously
division.
moves Josh Allen up and Trevor Lawrence down to that other category. Obviously Lawrence isn't in that elite category,
Mm-mm.
but so I think that's pretty obvious. But like we're looking at
CJ is an obvious one. So I put so if yeah, because when you're talking about it, we have Dak, Joe, Trevor, and I would say CJ are in different categories from Tua, Jared.
put Trevor Lawrence on that Miami team. Think about that now. Trevor Lawrence on that
Wait,
Miami team.
that's a playoff team.
Yeah, easily. But that's more than a playoff team though. So I think I definitely got Trevor Lawrence over Tua. I think Trevor
Oh
Lawrence.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think Trevor
I'm not
Lawrence.
disagreeing with that at all.
I think Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jordan
I'm very
Love.
low. I'm very low on Tua, like more than most people.
I don't. I just think he's not a franchise guy, right? Like, okay, this is where I would have it. Okay, for franchise guys, if we're having just an elite three of Jackson, Allen, Mahomes, then we move into franchise guys. I'm having Trevor, Dak, I guess Joe Burrow, even though I'd probably put him higher.
Right.
CJ, I know it's early, but CJ, Jordan Love, that's about 5 people in that franchise category. And then you put in, I would say, I would call it like high value system QB. That's where I see Purdy, I see Tua, Jared Goff, all those types of guys. I think there just needs to
Mm-hmm.
be a third tier in like mixed in with what you have for franchise guys, to be
This is all
honest.
based off week one as well, too, just to preface all of this.
Yeah.
So these are obviously all a little bit overreactions.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So let me go into the next one too if you want. So we
Okay.
got a category, very special category in itself. My glorious king category. That's Matthew Stafford. I'll never disrespect him. He's never gonna move off
Absolutely.
that. Okay, so
I don't have any arguments
he's
with
like
that.
my LeBron. I gotta appreciate him while he's still around. All right.
Mm.
So I got room for improvement.
Next
Um,
category.
Yep. I think it's pretty evident that we're gonna have all of these rookies in here. A lot of these rookies, you know, either did very poorly or just. I mean, I want to say poorly because it's week one, but there's definitely a lot of issues.
Yeah, of course. They're
You
rookies.
can
That
see
makes sense.
rookies, yeah. So Caleb Williams, Jay Daniels. I mm, so I don't have Bo Nix here
Yeah.
because his performance was not very good. I kind of had to discuss this off camera, but to me, Bo Nix has so many reps, so much experience already in collegiate level that to
Yeah.
me, when he the day he got drafted, he was almost pretty much a finished product.
Yeah.
We asked stuff, how much higher can I get with Bo Nix? Not much higher than what he's coming in as. Whereas Caleb, Jaden, Drake, JJ McCarthy, they're not necessarily finished products, and you can still mold them into what you want.
Mm-hmm.
As Bo Nix, what you get, what you're gonna get.
Hold on. Okay, I'm looking at this list here. Okay, keep going down it. We have
I got
Caleb Williams,
we got
Jaden
Jacoby,
Daniels.
Gino, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Anthony Richardson, and Jalen
What?
Hurts. What did come on? What is it? Which name? Tell me the
What
name
do
and
you
I
mean
will.
which name? Read those again and tell me which name I'm thinking of, bro.
Justin Herbert. I listen.
Yes, obviously.
I'm taking into an account as a whole. There's room for improvement. This
No, there's
doesn't,
room for
but
improvement on that roster. There's nothing that
that
he can
that
do
that's
that,
but
brother.
that's what I'm. That also falls into it, or
It
its room for
doesn't.
category.
It doesn't. He's in
No,
that same dude. No, he's in that same category as Dak Prescott, as Trevor Lawrence. He's better than some of those guys.
but the thing with me is, I don't know, dude. Like Herbert wasn't like lighting up the scoreboard or the stat sheet yesterday either,
Look at the
and there was
roster, bro.
he made misses too, dude.
Okay, of course. I mean, obviously every quarterback has room for improvement. So I'm not going to speak on that. So obviously there's going to be room for improvement. But like, you have
But
him
to
in the
me,
same category as Jacoby Brissett and fucking
listen,
Justin
listen,
Fields.
listen. I told you this is an overreaction,
This is a
and
complete overreaction.
but it's week one. We'll find out. This is listen. This is
Oh,
for inspiration. If you see this Justin Herbert, this is your inspiration. You can improve, but I'm sure you know that. See, because look to me, it's like I think my overreaction came from Gardner Minshew outpassing Justin Herbert in this game.
okay,
That's what
okay,
my
okay, okay.
even with
Jacoby
the shit
Myers and
roster.
Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers.
144 yards and one touchdown is what
Just
Herbert
give him
amounted.
those three options and see what he does. And just see what he does. Let's just
But that's
figure out what Justin Herbert would do with Devontae fucking Adams.
but he had okay, I guess.
Come
But to
on,
me,
dude.
this room for improvement, dude. All right.
Okay, you could say that about anyone. Like, what do you
What
mean?
I'm just saying is it was just a shit performance, wasn't very great. Like I said, fluid. It's fluid, baby.
It's a team sport. I don't know.
It's a
Of
team
course
sport.
it's
It's
fluid, but
fluid.
it's gonna change very quickly. All right.
Gino.
Let's just move on to the next category. Let's
But
just move
I
on.
think the biggest thing is too because a lot of people are gonna argue, a lot of Colts fans, a lot of meat varieties are gonna argue about Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson. I have problems with Jalen Hurts. I have a lot of problems with
See,
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is the same. Honestly, here's what
I don't think he's a franchise quarterback.
I know, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, like I said, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love. Did I say Jordan Love? Anyway, like that's that tier. That is what we call the franchise guys. And then what did I say? Like high value system QBs. That's where I'm putting the Tuas of the world. That's where I'm putting like the Brock Purdy's of the world, the Justin, not Justin, the Jalen Hurts of the world. Where like these are seriously like Jalen Hurts is literally just an Aldi version of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Like he's solid,
and,
but I don't think this is this is a guy where if you have a competent roster around him, he's making the Super Bowl, which obviously we saw. So that's where I'm looking at it, where he's a tier above these guys, just
and
like
for me,
Herbert is. But
and for me, I feel like people like get it confused too, because they see that Jalen is a dynamic quarterback, but they when you were say I put Jalen Hurts and Tua and Jared Goff in the same category, the people lose their mind. It's like how like they're not even the same quarterback because he's more dynamic. That doesn't make any difference to me. To me,
no,
they're the same.
the only difference that makes is for your fantasy league,
Exactly. Like
not your
he might
team.
be a more dynamic, more athletic quarterback, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a person who thrives off of a system as opposed to him being able to take over that entire. Jalen Hurts is not the reason this team is winning. I
Yeah.
want
So
people to know
okay,
that.
so system thrivers. That's what we can call it. System thrivers. Purdy. Okay.
Right. Tua, Jared, and Jalen.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good category, honestly.
Right.
And
Our,
I think
our
on
the game.
Herbert's higher than that. Herbert is the reason that this team is going to win 8 games.
That's
if
fair
they make it.
because he did even when he had who was that one coaches first, just like Anthony Flynn, something Flynn. He was still lighting it up pretty much every other week.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, not high on Jalen. Anthony Richardson, I know people are like got huge boners from that one throw that he threw 65 yards. It was crazy,
Okay,
but
so then I would say there would be another tier where I would call it like
that was a dude. I'm not gonna lie though. I mean, let's talk about that for a little bit. That has to be like by far one of the craziest throws I've ever seen in my entire
I
life.
would have to rewatch it. I think I
That
did
was,
see it, but
dude, that was nuts. Watch it right now, please.
right
Dude,
now.
this dude literally slipped. He literally got. I think it was like a play action. Slipped on his back foot when he was planting it. Like readjusted, but it was almost like he was flat footed and slang that thing 65 yards down to Alec Pierce. I was, oh
To
my God,
Pierce.
so crazy. Flat footed, Jack. He was basically flat footed and threw it
Yeah, that's
65
a
yards.
great throw. I
Dude,
did
that
see
is
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
But, everything, it's so crazy to me that he can make an insane throw like that, but his accuracy is not great as
See
far as
that of
overall.
course room for improvement. I think it's too I think we would have a category where it's too early to tell.
It is.
Caleb, Jaden,
And we could put Anthony Richardson in that too. With
yep,
honestly, you could put like I understand he got like a year of camp and like off season, but honestly, just as far as in game reps, like he falls in that same
yep.
category.
I would say so. I think Kyler Murray's in that same field as like those system thrivers. I think
Yeah,
he could make he's a player who you could make the Super Bowl if the team around him is sweet.
right. And hmm,
But a player like Jacoby Brissett, he's not making the Super Bowl even if it was the Niners.
no, and I honestly think of all of these, if we were all ranking them as far as like ceiling and floor, you could probably put Jacoby and Gino probably and Sam Darnold pretty much at the bottom of this list.
Yeah. I think if you throw okay, let's look at the room for improvement list here. Hurts, Herbert, Murray, those three. Those three in there. Throw them on the Niners, they're making the Super Bowl.
Right. And
None of
I
those
still
other players, but those
no.
three will. So I think
And
those
don't,
are system thrivers.
right. And I don't know. The other tangent I gotta go on here too off this list is
It's gonna end
I don't
here.
know if I've held out hope, but I kind of I've given up on Justin Fields as a starting quarterback in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory.
I don't know what it is. I gave every excuse because I was like the Bears are so god awful.
Okay, so you still have him in the same tier as Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but like to me they're the same quarterback though. Hey, listen, come back.
It's unbelievable.
But listen, they're literally the same quarterback to me.